Oh, hello, hyperspace! My name is Davontos, and it's time to get hyped because we are going to talk about the Stryker rig. He's actually one of the underdog rigs, especially if you're playing non-objective game modes like Team Deathmatch and Free-for-All. But he is ridiculously powerful in Team Deathmatch and Free-for-All, even though it's not an objective game mode. So let's get right into this and discuss what makes this rig so unique. So, when you're using Stryker, everybody tends to use him like they use Warfighter. Just run around the map and kill the enemy soldier and get your payload and place it down or use it and whatever. Just treat him like a regular COD soldier. When you use Stryker, you actually want to play very campy. I'm not saying be a camper. I'm not saying sit in a corner, stay there, and shoot anybody in your sight. He's more of a crowd control kind of character. Like if you guys play Overwatch and you know like Torbjorn or Mei and Reinhardt, they're like crowd control. Mei shows up, Mei can put walls up, change the entire arena, and she controls where the enemies are going to move. The same thing with, let's say, Torbjorn. They don't want to see his turret, they stay clear of his turret, so you kind of control where the enemies are able to engage and disengage. It's the same thing with this guy. With Stryker, he has his gravity vortex gun, so if you actually give a warning shot with your gravity vortex, the enemies will stay clear of that path. It's the same thing with the his little short deployable sentry gun that's like ridiculously weak. Now granted, it is very, very weak, so you have to work with the gun if you want to get some kills, but the instant enemies learn that your little sentry gun is in that specific spot, you know, wherever you put it, if it's on that spot, they're either going to do two things: avoid it or try to engage it, which gives you the opportunity to either know where they're going to approach it or protect your sentry gun and get yourself some free kills. So before I continue, I want to come clean and say I don't know all the names to his payloads and his traits, but he does have a trait that allows him to keep placed equipment even upon death. Now this is insanely powerful, especially if you want to start spamming trip mines across the match. Now when you're playing Team Deathmatch, everybody's running around everywhere. The spawns are very predictable, so you can actually booby trap enemy spawns and get some spawn kills regardless if Stryker himself is killed. Now how this works is, I don't even know what it's called, but it's one of the traits that allow your placed equipment to stay there even after death, and you're allowed to double your placed equipment. So granted, you have, let's say, a trip mine, right? You place a trip mine at an entrance and you get killed. You respawn with another trip mine, and when you place your new trip mine that you spawned with, your old trip mine is still at the door. This gives you the opportunity to place booby traps and pick people off, meaning that everybody's going to be very cautious on where they move. And if the enemies are very cautious on where they move because they don't know where your trip mines are placed, that means you control the spawns. You can place a trip mine at one of the spawns, and if it doesn't go off, you know the enemies aren't going in that direction, which means your team should approach from a different angle, catching them off guard. Now I know for you guys to move in and catch enemies off guard, it requires teamwork, and in Call of Duty, nobody really works as a team, especially in Team Deathmatch, but you don't really need to work as a team as you're playing Stryker, because as most guns in Infinite Warfare, they have a very fast time to kill. So if you're actually able to pull off flanks around your booby traps, you can either have the enemies run into your booby traps, run into your sentry gun, or just have your gravity gun and then just spawn trap them and spawn kill them with your gravity gun. This guy is insanely powerful, and he has a lot of, I guess, map awareness and spawn awareness keyed into his playstyle, but once you get a hold of this and once you get used to this, he is going to be one of the most powerful rigs in Infinite Warfare. So for like a quick comparison to Overwatch, I guess you can say he's kind of like the Symmetra of Infinite Warfare. You can place your booby traps, you know, like your sentry gun, your trip mines, and you can build a nest. And because the spawns in Infinite Warfare tend to change, and you know, Overwatch doesn't, you can actually have the enemies spawn inside of your nest and basically trap them, giving you and your team some free kills for a little bit. And then, you know, once your booby traps are all gone, just build a new nest, and the enemies will never know where you're going to place your new nest. But there are a couple things to avoid when you're building your nest, and that's where you place your trip mines. And let's use a doorway, for example. Usually when I see people place trip mines in this game, they just throw the trip mine anywhere and it sticks like in the middle of the door frame, and you see the laser just cutting across literally like right in the middle of the path, and it's very, very easy to see. When you place your trip mines, you want to place them as low as possible because, well, not a lot of players look down when they move, increasing your chances of them triggering the trip mine. And it's the same thing for your sentry gun. When I see people place his little micro turret, I notice they just place it in the middle of nowhere. You want to place it in areas where enemies aren't really going to look. So let's say in corners or on top of a car, maybe in the shadows, because the sentry gun itself is very weak when it's giving damage, and it's very weak when it comes down to taking damage. Its health is insanely low. So There are even times that enemies will run right past your micro turret and it won't even do anything. So you want to place it in a spot where it will, I guess you can say, survive as long as possible before it gets shot down. It takes a little while to get used to, but once you get used to his playstyle, you're going to see you have full control of the enemy's spawn and what the enemies can do when they're trying to get out of spawn. So if you like this video, punch that like button with a mighty force. You can follow me up on Twitter at DavantosMan. And as always, I'll see all of you in the next video. Have a nice day!